Live in studio. We just want to speak matters COVID-19 vaccine development, even as the country, of course, the world is struggling to have enough vaccines for its citizens, and Kenya is among the countries, but our highly respected institutions, research institutions, what is going on? And Tom Mboya is speaking with the acting DG KEMRI, of course, Prof.Sam Kariuki, to just tell us what is going on. Is there any hope that we might be developing our own vaccine and, of course, save lives, millions of lives of Kenyans? You can send in your questions. The professor is here in studio at KBC Channel 1 News. The hashtag to use is Prime Edition, and Tom is on the other side of the studio, already seated with a guest, Prof.Sam Kariuki. Tom, it's interesting to have this conversation at a time when, of course, we are seeing other countries experiencing third, fourth wave of infections. We are not so badly off, but we cannot lower the guard. So maybe it's over to you, and we're looking forward to that conversation, Tom.
Many thanks indeed, Purity. And that's why we invited Professor Samuel Kariuki to come and talk to us about some of these issues. And thank you for coming through.
Thank you very much.
Parliament is rooting for you to get an additional, I think it's 50 billion shillings. And they had expressed some concerns earlier that for many years, KEMRI had operated without sufficient funds. And recently, I think you pulled a milestone, and they were very delighted, and I think I want to commend you. So as your opening remarks, tell us what this breakthrough is all about, and describe for us those flagship projects.
Thank you very much, Tom, and very, very glad to be here this evening, even to be able to talk to the public about what KEMRI, through the Ministry of Health, is doing on COVID-19, especially not just on vaccine development, but also on diagnostics.
Yeah.
Because you really have to start somewhere, being able to detect disease to be able to know how to manage it.
Yeah.
And some of the milestones that we've made, as you alluded to, include aspects of being able to support the Ministry of Health with regard to widespread diagnostics.
Okay.
That's one. But number two, as a research institution, we've been mandated by the Ministry of Health to be able to come up with products that can be able to assist in the process of actually being able to diagnose, but also manage the conditions.
Which are some of these products?
And one of the main products here is what we call virus transport medium.
Yeah.
It's a very, very important medium, and for which then if you're transporting samples, say from a remote location that's not next to a laboratory, you are required to put that sample in a transport media, so that you are able to preserve the material, the biological material that you're going to test.
So for my grandmother to understand this,
yes, please.
You're basically saying testing kits. Would that be?
That's different.
Okay.
The transport material is like a preservative for the sample to be tested in the laboratory.
Okay.
Now, the testing kit is something different. The test kit is what you use now in the laboratory to be able to detect the virus itself. So there are two things here that we have developed with a lot of support from the Ministry of Health. One is the medium to transport the sample from the individual being tested to the laboratory where this test is going to happen. That medium is very, very important, because if you don't put that sample in the medium, the virus will die off and you'll not be able to detect it properly in the laboratory. Yes.
So how do we, now that you have, and that's a milestone really.
Yes, indeed.
How do you ramp up production?
Very good question. Just like for the kit that we have produced locally, we have now what we call a locally produced PCR kit. Now, PCR is a process through which we do the actual diagnosis for the virus, as with any other pathogens. We have a locally produced kit, and what we want to do now is to partner with industry to be able to ramp up that production to commercial level, so that just like we do for other products at KEMRI, where we partner with industry to produce bulk quantities of sanitizers, and we sell that to the public through KEMSA and through other organizations. So the same thing we'll do for this kit, and also for the virus transport media.
Okay.
But as we speak, we actually supply a lot of laboratories and a lot of institutions that are testing COVID-19 with the virus transport media.
Okay. Okay. Now, there's a global push to have COVID-19 patents waived.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
Recently, Kenya and France unveiled an assembly plant here. Are we likely to see a similar arrangement with Kemri?
What has happened is that the Ministry of Health actually has come very, very strongly in support of developing a local capacity for vaccine development.
Yeah.
And I would say about 3 months ago, the CS himself launched an interagency committee that is headed by Kemri, by the new, in fact, we have a new board led by a new, I would say, institutional mandate.
All right.
To be able to look at local capacity for vaccine production.
Exactly.
And the new chair of the board of directors, Dr. Binde, has been given that mandate by the CS to be able to spearhead that committee.
Okay.
To be able to look at all options available.
Yeah.
To be able to have Kenya as a local manufacturing capacity.
What would hinder that development?
From
where you're sitting.
Exactly. There are three phases of vaccine production. There's the R&D part of it, which is research and development. Yeah. And then there's what you would call the pilot phase, where you're producing various and testing various candidates. Yeah. And then there's the actual production itself, which we call fill and finish. Yeah. Now, we're looking at what options we have, and especially you mentioned something very, very important, waiving patents. Yeah. Because if these countries that are producing these vaccines are able to waive those patents, it means then we, in low and middle income countries, will be able to go straight into what we call fill and finish phase, which is the last phase of vaccine production.
It's at the tail end.
The tail end, without necessarily going through all the many years of vaccine development, which can take a long time and a lot of resources. So this particular interagency committee is going to be looking at first the possibility of fill and finish, where we can import bulk vaccine, and then come here and repackage it, repackage it into small vials. And then distribute it.
Exactly. Let me just tackle something. R&D is your forte.
Yes.
Research and development. And I was looking at the data. Kenya, the researcher to population ratio stands at 200 to every 1 million.
Exactly.
Against a global standard of about 5,000.
Indeed.
And for you to accomplish the kind of goals that you have, how do you then, ensure that you have the expertise and you have the capacity going forward?
Very good question, Tom. One of the things that we must do as an institution, through the Ministry of Health and the support of government, is to build our own capacity for vaccine development. There are very few vaccinologists in this country, people who have been trained in vaccine production and who can literally say that we can amass a large number of people to be able to do commercial production.
So how do you fill the gap?
How do you fill the gap? By fast-tracking some of this training, for example. We can identify a good team of people who can be fast-tracked in training, and we can collaborate with countries like South Africa, where production is already happening.
Okay.
So we don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Okay. Let's talk about, some people have already gotten the first and second jab of AstraZeneca, and we've had stories.
Yes.
Okay. I know somebody who got both jabs, and they've contracted the virus. There are also our sisters who, there's a question of blood clots.
Yes.
And I just want you to speak to efficacy and how secure these vaccines are. As a scientist.
As a scientist, yes. Let me come from the point of view of the fact that actually Kenya was among the countries that participated in what we call the phase 3 clinical trials, where these were performed in one of our centers, the Kemri Kilifi Center. And so far, out of nearly 200 that have gone through phase 1 and phase 2, and also first dose and second dose, very minimal side effects have been obtained.
Okay.
But that's not to say that certain people will not react, of course, to the jab. But what it means is that we have a very, very small percent of people who will then react, in an adverse manner to the vaccine. But then also, what the vaccine does is that it causes the body to produce antibodies or soldiers to fight the virus.
Yeah.
What the vaccine doesn't do is to prevent you from getting the virus. Because it doesn't block you from, say, for example, droplets coming and you breathing in and getting the virus, but it protects you against severe disease in case the virus comes to you.
Okay. All right.
So it's very, very important we clearly understand the role of the vaccine.
Yeah, I think that's important. And by the way, this COVID thing, it sort of, I mean, in form and character, it's so elusive.
It is.
It makes people feel as if they're tiptoeing through raindrops, Do you as scientists sometimes feel that the virus can outwit you?
It is true, and that is true also for many, many other pathogenic organisms in many other bugs. Let me call them bugs for the sake of the public to understand. Because, let me say this, bugs or pathogenic organisms came into being billions of years before humans came into being. They have evolved over billions of years. So we may ignore them, that they are very tiny and probably have no brains. But I can tell you they have more brains than humans sometimes. Because they are competing against a force to eliminate them. So they keep changing over the time.
So they keep mutating.
They keep mutating.
And they keep fighting back.
They keep fighting back.
They keep fighting back. Now, I know currently you're putting a lot of eggs in the vaccine basket.
Yes.
40 years plus later, and 70 million deaths. We still don't have a vaccine for HIV.
It's a good question, and there has been a lot of effort. I think HIV field is one of the fields that have really got a lot of funding over many, many years. And but
no vaccine still.
You alluded to the fact that some of these organisms really hide a lot. And one such virus is the HIV virus, hiding literally within the immune system to the point that it's able to elude immune system itself within the T4 cells itself. It's a virus that is able to turn off the immune system to protect itself from being killed.
Okay.
Now, and over time, again, the rate at which it mutates is so high, so that by the time you develop one candidate vaccine, the next time you go testing it, you have a new variant. So that rate of mutation is really very difficult.
But we have seen effective solutions with the antivirals.
Exactly.
And people are living normal lives.
And you've seen the rates of HIV has really dropped.
Diminished. So are we likely to see therapies that people require?
For COVID-19?
For other conditions, for example?
Yes, indeed. And there is a lot of effort, actually, with regard to new treatments.
Okay.
I would say globally, there has been less, I would say less investment in new products.
As we come to the close of this interactive session, I mean, the positivity rate sustained at about 5%.
For HIV?
For COVID-19.
Yeah, between
daily cases around
between 5 and 10%.
Yeah. I mean, simply that's a simple way of predicting a surge. Should we expect a fourth wave? Is it around the corner?
Well, yes and no, because it really depends on how we behave sometimes. Because sometimes I say it's within our power as citizens of this country to prevent a fourth, even a fifth wave.
Yeah.
If we can observe strict protocols, and you recall our CS in the Ministry of Health keeps preaching about this. Let's observe COVID-19 protocols. Let's not behave as if this disease is gone out. Even when we get vaccinated, there's still the risk of you getting the virus and transmitting it to somebody else who is vulnerable. So it's very, very important that we observe strict protocols that prevent transmission.
So you have debunked this military metaphor that there is a magic bullet that Cameroon government will develop to smash COVID-19 out of the face of this world.
Absolutely not. There's no magic bullet. There must be concerted effort from all different angles, including vaccine, observing protocol 19 protocols. hygiene,
Yeah.
so forth. As we develop...
Final comments so that we close. Final comments.
I would say that we are in a fight against organisms, we are in a fight against bacteria, we're in a fight against diseases. We must be able to build our capacity as a country to be able to prevent this and to be able to fight against this, including antimicrobial resistance. Bugs are developing mechanisms to fight new drugs.
When you're working in the laboratory, the first rule,
yes,
never do what?
Kill the host.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much to KBC.
Thank you.
And thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will be looking at what happened in the world of sports. Stay with us.